This next speaker I want to invite out has an amazing story, a story that I think all of us will be touched by. This young woman her name is Leah Darrow, and she comes from San Diego, and I want you to give her a warm welcome.
Hi. Hello. Hi. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Just in the nick of time. My plane just landed, but I'm here. All right. So how you doing? Doing good? I'm doing great. I hope you're doing good. All right. Well, it's good to see you all here for the first time. I'm so excited I get to meet you and spend more time with the girls tomorrow in the women's session. But tonight is so fun. It's our first night. It's the beginning of everything that we're going to do this weekend, obviously. And it can be a little rough, I think, for some when they're just getting into the prayer mode, just getting into that Stubby mode and trying to pull it all together. And nothing brings us together more than a story from Annie about poop, Nothing really does it like that. And I got to tell you, I've worked with Annie just a few times, and it seems to be a common theme, this little story that pops up. It's kind of interesting. We'll talk later. But anyways, I think it's kind of funny to break the ice with that. But, today, I know that Annie brought up the Isaiah 43, and where we're going to kind of look at that. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about that with you, and then share with you a little bit of my story of kind of how God's worked in my life, what's happened, where I was, where I am now, where I hope to go, because I think a lot of it is really relative to what we do today. A lot of people's stories are very similar to mine. Mine's not all that different from many, many people. Isaiah 43, I love the very end of that, of 43:1. And if we want to pull it back up, we can. Fear not, for I have called you by name, and you are mine. I love that. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. And I just think about that. Whenever I'm reading that and I'm thinking, who says that? Do you ever wonder, has anybody ever in your life told you that? Guess what? I've redeemed you. I've called you by name. You're mine. Who does that? Who can say that? Who has the authority to say something like that? I think there's a lot of things in the Bible, beautiful, wonderful things that we can think about and that we've heard before from other people. I love you. These things, God is love. And you sometimes that phrase gets a little overused, not used in the right context so much. But there are some things fear not, for I have redeemed you, that we don't hear that often. There's nobody, I don't know about you, but there's nobody, I've never had anybody in my life come up to me and say, Leah, I've redeemed you. You are mine. I'd be like, oh my, you would run. You would turn and run, I hope, if somebody said that to you. But God has the power to do that. He has redeemed us. But what does that word mean? I know for me, sometimes you think about this, what does that mean? Redeemed. So you've redeemed me. Does that just mean you love me? What does it mean? Redeem comes from the Latin word redemptio. The Latin word redemptio comes from a combination of two words, a Greek word and a Hebrew word. And those two words together, they mean ransom price. The origin, the definition of where this came from, redeemed. The definition here is ransom price. And clearly we know somebody had to pay that price. Somebody paid a price for us. That is Christ, Son of the Father. And God paid that price for you. That's amazing to me that that's what it comes down to, that he's redeemed us, that there was a price to be paid. And he gave us the ultimate price, the price of his life for us. For me, when I go back to Isaiah 43, it means a lot more. Not fear not, for I have redeemed you. Fear not, for I have paid the ultimate price for you. I paid the price of my life for you. That's what that means. It's pretty awesome when we think about that. And sobering too, that someone, not just anyone, but someone, Jesus Christ, paid a price for you. He knew you and he loved you when he gave his life for you. That's from John 13:1. He knew you and he loved you when he paid that price. That on the cross, right there in that moment where redemption has its fullness, he knew you. He loved you. That overwhelms me to think about that sometimes. And I think about these saints, right, who live a redeemed life. Of course, they had a crazy background. Most of them do, right? But they have this redeemed life. And how do they get there? How did they finally get to that point where it clicked or something really changed? They didn't just really want to do good. I'll just be holy later. But they said, forget about it. It's time is now. I'm going to be holy today and tomorrow with the grace of God. Like, how does that happen? How do saints do that? Some of my two favorite saints that I like to share and talk about is Saint Mary Magdalene, I love her, and Saint Mary of Egypt. And I know we probably know Saint Mary Magdalene's story, right? Okay, so she had this crazy life. She was, I guess we could use some, cultural reference words here, very like a party girl, right? She had lots of male acquaintances. They didn't play checkers. Okay, she had all these things going on. She lived this life that was full of vanity, pleasure seeking, and something happened though. She had this conversion. She met this man, this Jesus, and she was overwhelmed by his love, overwhelmed by his authority, overwhelmed by his mercy. And she has this moment where she has this conversion. And I think that sometimes we just think, okay, so Mary Magdalene, she was this really kind of naughty girl. She had a conversion. She was at the foot of the cross. Good job, Mary. Way to stick it through to the end. But man, so much more went into her life. You got to think about it from our perspectives too. Like, she had this conversion, and then she stays with the Blessed Mother and the other holy women, and she follows them along as Jesus travels, and they follow him. She goes through all these towns. She knows people in these towns. Like, she knows them. Like, biblically, she knows them, all right? And you have to think about what those conversations were like. What were people saying about her? I mean, I would take a guess that some of them made fun of her. Oh yeah, there's Mary. Yeah, I remember her. It was just a few months ago she was doing this and this. Yeah, right, she's just looking for attention. She just wants to be around this Jesus guy because he has all these people around him. Oh, I wonder what she does, this. Oh, she's not gonna change. She says she's gonna change, but whatever, I know her. She can't change. She'll fall back into her sin. She'll come back and party with us soon. You can imagine these are probably the conversations people had. And she stuck with it. She had fortitude, that beautiful virtue. She stuck with it. She stuck with that conversion. With every thought, with every utterance of meanness from anybody around. She stuck with it. That's amazing, and especially at the foot of the cross. The courage she had to show herself, to show her face at that moment when our Savior gave his life for us. When he paid the price, the ransom price for you and for me. St. Mary of Egypt has somewhat of a similar story. I don't know if you know her. Not a lot of people do. St. Mary of Egypt is very interesting. She fell into this very big life of sin. Okay, she ran away from home, all these crazy things, big time sin. She was working as a prostitute, giving herself away. She was so warped in her sin that there were times where she would engage in the sin of prostitution and wouldn't take any money for it. She was so warped in that sin. And so she was continuing on. She saw these people as they were making a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, I believe. And she's there and she follows them. She goes to Jerusalem, not to make the pilgrimage, but she goes so she can pray on the pilgrims as they go and venerate the Holy Cross on that feast day there in Jerusalem, the Holy Cross of the wood of Christ that he died on. And as she's working with the pilgrims and she's trying to get in and everything, and most of them are pushing her away, she goes up to the door. There's something inside her that just draws her to the front. And she goes up to the door and she decides that she's going to go in. And she pulls the door. Pilgrims had just gone in. and the door just, it locks. She can't get in there. She shakes it harder, can't get in. She can't get in. What's going on? Everybody else is walking in, she can't get in. And she knew that there was something spiritual going on, and she prays at that moment. Something just convicts her. Whatever it was, something convicts her. And she just said, Lord, let me go in. Please let me come in. If you let me just go into the church and just let me see the wood of the cross, I'll give you my life. Something was just, she wanted more. She knew she was meant for more. How do you get there? So the next time she goes up to the door, she pulls it, opens wide open. She walks on in, she venerates the cross, she kneels down and she prays. And she has this beautiful moment of prayer and inspiration where she is in total adoration of the cross, of the sacrament. And she sits there and she decides, okay, I know I'm meant for more. Help me, Lord. Please give me the grace to change. Give me the grace not to desire what is unhealthy for me. Give me the desire to desire the things that are worthy of my dignity and not go after the things that are worthless, that make me feel worthless. And so she changed her life. She literally walked out. She had a life of penance after that, of deep prayer. She gave her life back. She did not engage at all one time back into those sins. She prayed, and all of these things, and she lived this beautiful life. Another awesome example of someone who was redeemed, who believed it. She believed that she was purchased at a price. And not as a guilt trip, oh, well, I guess you did this for me, Jesus, so I better do something good for you. But she saw the value in what this was. Why would you die for someone else? Why would you give your life for someone? There must be something big about that. Huge. In fact, we must be something really important to the person who would do that. And that's exactly what God is telling us. It's exactly what Christ is trying to explain to us. You are so worthy. I want to love you. I'm giving you my love. Christ has redeemed us. The interesting part is that we have to accept that. We daily have to accept that redemption and live in that. I know from my own personal life, that wasn't always the case. I lived a pretty wild life, and I mean, granted, it was a slow fade. I don't think you become, this devil child overnight, and, with horns and breathing fire. Takes, a couple weeks at least, right, to kind of get to that point. I don't know, maybe sometimes a month, but you get the idea, right? So it's a slow fade. But I do remember the fact when I think back on it, there was this one moment for me. For me, I know it exactly. There was one moment where things really took that turn, where you start dabbling in a little bit of sin. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just do this and this. Oh, it's not, I won't keep doing it. It's just 1 or 2 or 4 times, I don't know, 7. But that's it. I'm not going to do any more. I'm a good person, right? I'm a good person. And then you cross that line where you're like, okay, this is a whole new ball game. I've gotten into some stuff that is really bad. I've gotten into things that I never would have dreamed that I would do. I never would have thought that somebody like me would do something like that. I remember I was 15. And this is kind of where it began for me, where I allowed that slow fade down away from my Catholic faith that I grew up with to plummet. And then making decisions afterwards that made it just go all the way further. And for me, I was 15. I was in high school, and I was dating this guy. I had this boyfriend, because you have to have a boyfriend. You just have to in high school for whatever reason. At least you feel like that. I'm sure it's just my high school, right? Not yours. So I was dating this guy, and I was a sophomore. He was a senior, because he couldn't get any girls his own age. And so we're dating, right? I know, I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm really not kidding, but that's okay. So we're dating him, and everything's fun and everything. We're getting ready for the homecoming dance, and we're all getting ready. And I've got my boyfriend's best friend, who's in my grade, because that makes the most sense. He is walking with me, and he's talking to me, and he asked me this question. He said, so Leah, Leah, are you ready for it? And I was like, oh yeah, I am so ready for it. And he's like, really? I mean, I'm a little shocked, but that's cool. Okay, all right. And I kind of looking at him like, why are you shocked? I'm a girl. Of course I'm ready for it. I got my dress. I got my shoes. I mean, why would I not be ready for the dance? I mean, come on. Everybody knows that I like fashion. I love, big rings and shoes and fun stuff. And he looks at me like I've got 7 heads. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, come on, Leah. You know what I'm saying. Are you ready for it? It. And I look at him and I'm like, this guy's thick in the head, Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah. And he looks at me, really? And I realize, okay, maybe I don't know what he's talking about. So the best thing to do, of course, is just be honest and say, could you just kind of explain to me what you're saying? Or I don't know, just say something to that effect, right? But I, of course, don't do the smart thing. And I just lied. And I was like, yeah, I am so ready for it. I was ready yesterday. I was ready yesterday for it. So, yep, I'm ready. Always ready. I was born ready. It's what you do. So I walk away. I have no clue what he's talking about. And I walk away, and some of my friends on the basketball team come up, and they're like, come on, Leah, we heard about this conversation. You don't know what it is? Once again, I choose the dumb response. I lie. Yeah, I so know. So know what it is. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why you're asking, so. I don't know, do you have any math homework, or did you? Oh, okay. And then I decided to go even further with my lie. Oh, I get it. You don't know what it is. You want me to tell you? Oh, that's cool. That's totally cool. I'll tell you. I will totally tell you what it is. Why didn't you ask me at the beginning? It's no big deal. At this point, I know that it's not shoes, and it's not a dress, and the other 7 billion things that it could be. I have no idea what's going on. I don't listen to that little voice in your head that just says, stop talking, I get that all the time, and I don't listen to it enough, just shut up, Leah. So anyway, she obviously gets a clue. She goes, oh, come on. Leah, you do not know what we're talking about. And I said, okay, all right, fine, forget about it. I don't. She goes, it is sex. Come on. You don't know that? I'm like, of course I do. I mean, what else would it be? I mean, all the things in the world, that it could be. It is obviously sex, because everybody knows that, right? I mean, God forbid that I'm pure and innocent. So I now know what this thing is, and of course the question comes back around, come on, so that my friend asked me again, are you ready for it? And I have no clue. I never thought about this. I know this sounds crazy today, but there was a time in the world where you didn't always think about it. I know, it was ages ago. So I didn't think what would this mean? What were the consequences? And not the consequences that people think of oh my gosh, what could happen with this or that, but the spiritual consequences. Because that matters too. I didn't think about that. Or should I not? Or, okay, so the church says this, but why? Why does the church say that? Why does God give us these commandments that include this? And why does he say not to do it? What are his reasons? And I wasn't brave enough to ask those questions. And I wasn't brave enough to find the answers to those questions. And I just was trying to go along with everything to make everybody happy. And I wasn't sure what to do. And okay, it's fun and exciting. And maybe or maybe not, I don't know. And it got to the point where, homecoming night came. I was all dressed up in my dress and my shoes. They were super great too. Girls, you would love them. They're amazing. They were so awesome. Actually, when I bought the shoes, it was so great. This is totally a side story. This has nothing to do with my talk. But these shoes were so awesome. My dress was super cool. Crushed black velvet. Oh yeah, don't make fun. It was the 90s, and it was amazing back then. And it was so cool, it was so neat. And these shoes that I found at a different department store, opposite side of the mall, exact same material of my dress on the shoes. it was like a fashion miracle. Like these beams of light were coming down on the shoes. And God, he broke through the clouds and he said, Leah, pick these. These are my beloved shoes. Oh. It was amazing, right? Angels are in the background, Gloria, hallelujah, something's going on. You had to buy them. It's a fashion miracle. You buy the shoes, right? So I did. They were really great. So I looked super cute. I know I just totally lost all the guys, but trust me, the girls and I needed that moment. We needed it. So I got the shoes on, I got the dress on. I look as cute as a button, because that's what my mama told me, and I believed it. And I went out there, and I just had the best time of my life. Had a great time with my boyfriend. He's a really nice guy. And we just danced and danced and danced. It was really, really fun and super great and everything like that. And then afterwards, there's all these other parties that you say we're going to be at one place, we're going to be at another place, but then you go across the street because there's that place, that thing that happens, you know? Not here, but in other places in the world, it does. So that happened. So I go and we hang out with my friends. And, you know, it was that night where I had to make a really tough decision. I had to make a hard decision that was, I wasn't quite sure what to do. And that night, for me, I was 15 years old. It did happen. And it's something for me that, you know, I mean, it's always at this point. It's always at this point, I think, in the conversation where it's, you know, it's always harder for me to kind of look you in the eye, you know, at that point. You know, because okay, I didn't when I think back about that time, trust me, I know God's forgiven me, and I believe in his mercy. But I just didn't know how great I was. The dignity I have. I didn't really believe it, you know? That the gift of my virginity, the gift of, you know, the purity that I had, that it was such a gift. It was so beautiful. And that gift is meant for one person. It is, you know, whether that be you give that gift back to God in a religious vocation, or you give that gift in the sacrament of marriage. And, you know, when I think back about that moment, that's kind of what makes me sad, is that I think a lot of us are like that. We just don't know how great we are, you know? We don't know. We forget that we were purchased at a price of his life and what that means. And I think for a lot of us, also what happens is if we end up going down that road, if some of you have, like I did, we kind of get caught up in the sin itself and we forget about the mercy of Christ and the fact that we are redeemed and we can accept that and we can change and we can move past it. And I got so caught up in the sin that I just forgot about all that other stuff. Well, I've screwed up. I've wasted the whole thing. Forget about it. I can't go back. People say I can't, so I guess they're right. It's too hard. I've already done this once. It doesn't matter if I do it a second or third time, right? Yeah, it does matter, actually. Because you can change. But I didn't believe it. You know what? I didn't know it. I didn't know my dignity, my worth, and that, you know what? I am bigger than sin. And in fact, that sin is a choice. It's optional. And I didn't know about that. You know, my life afterwards just kind of, that was like that moment where everything kind of just slowly started to slide down. Well, if I've done that, then it doesn't matter if I do this or this, right? Well, forget about it. People are going to talk about this. People are not going to believe if I change. They won't encourage me or whatever it is, so it's just too hard. I'll just keep going with sin. I'll just become sin's pal and just do this and this and this, whatever. Let's just add them all up, rack them up, because I'm just worthless. Doesn't matter. I just keep screwing up, right? And that's what I did. I made poor choice after another poor choice after another one in high school and in college, and that followed me through. I get a crazy idea to be on America's Next Top Model, and I did that, and that was crazy. and insane. I was one of the older girls on the show, so I luckily, I was 24. Everybody else is like 11, So, but I was able to and unfortunately that lifestyle definitely encouraged everything that I learned in high school, right? That I shouldn't be doing. Just encourage it to keep going on and on. And then it just keeps going on further and further into this one moment for me where I have a big moment for me where things started to change. And I hear about other people having tons of moments like this all the time. Many moments are here on these weekends. Other moments are just when you are on a Sunday at Mass and something just boom, hits you. I think God has 3 different ways that he sometimes communicates with us. He communicates with some people with a whisper, just a nice little whisper into their ear. And for those people who are very in tune, they hear that whisper clearly and they act upon God's will, God's loving desires for us. Other people, God will give the nudge. You've seen those couples at church where someone's talking and you see the mom boom, and right? The nudge, God gives the nudge to some people, and so they need to be shaken up just a little bit, but then they're good. And then there's this other crowd of people. I'm the president of this group, where God doesn't use a whisper, and he doesn't use a nudge, but he uses a 2x4, and he whacks the heck out of you to be are you serious? Wake up! What are you doing? Oh, right, yeah, okay, got it, thanks. That's kind of like me. I'm kind of in that group a lot of times, the 2x4 group. And I had that 2x4 moment with me. I was in the middle of a photo shoot. I was in New York. I was still living there after Top Model. And I was just living this crazy life, very vain. It reminds me a lot of my 2 favorite saints, Mary Magdalene and Mary of Egypt. I just was living for myself, I was just doing my own thing. I was good. And I just kept going in that direction. Something had to happen. And in the middle of this photo shoot, I had this moment where I just really felt the presence of God. And not a feeling oh, that's so warm and cuddly, but this knowledge, what are you doing with your life? You were made for more. And I was so scared sometimes to act upon my faith. Scared to be Catholic. Scared to say that I was Catholic. And I can think about that moment, and I think about here in this weekend and the beautiful verse that we have to meditate on all weekend. And I love the beginning. And Isaiah says, fear not, do not be afraid. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. And in that moment, it was God just really spoke to my heart. And I remember being in that photo shoot and just realizing, if this was my last moment on earth, what would I have to offer? What would be in my hands? What would I be offering to Christ? And I realized, and I knew for a fact, my hands would be totally empty. I was living my life totally for myself. It was the theology of Leah Darrow all the way. If I thought I was doing something wrong in the eyes of God, well, I just changed my theology. Well, I'm sure God would understand, right? He's a loving God, right? And I had that moment, and I finally just walked out. I walked out of that photo shoot, and I decided something has to change. I want something more for myself. I want something more for who I am. I want to give something to the world. I want to give something back to God with what he's done for me. And I walked out of the photo shoot. I went, and of course, I get to that point where you realize you need some help. And I did the only thing a girl could do for me, and I called my dad. And I just said, you got to come and get me, Dad. I need some help. I need you to come. I don't even know what to do. And my dad, I'm so lucky. I got a great dad. And he drove all the way from St. Louis, Missouri, all the way to Manhattan, and he came and he picked me up. And in that moment, he gets to my doorstep, right? And everything's super crazy, and I'm this crazy mess. I've been crying for days, and I'm stinky and sweaty and tears coming out and snot and sweat. It's just gross, right? And my dad looks at me, and he says to me, I'm so happy to see you. And I'm just thinking, you are crazy. I am a mess. And I'm a terrible daughter. I've got 5 younger brothers and sisters below me. I'm a terrible example. And he just looked at me so lovingly, and he says, yeah, I'm really happy to see you. I can't wait to see a little bit of New York before we leave. I'm going to go to Central Park, and he's listing all these restaurants he wants to go to and all these things. It's crazy. And then he finally just said, but first we're going to go to confession. And of course, that just, it feels like a ton of bricks around your chest, like you can't breathe. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll just go when we get home, Dad. And he's like, no, we need to go now. We're going now. He says, you called and you said that you needed to come home, and I'm here to take you home. And church is home. If you want to go anywhere else, you can call Southwest Airlines. Yeah, I know. He's such a kind dad. He is, though. My father has never threatened us. He just makes promises, He's one of those things. Like, it was never a threat. He made good. Like, whatever. Well, anyways, so he just did that. So we get to the confessional, and this weekend you have many opportunities to go to confession. You will hear me say this all weekend long. Go, go, go. Everybody has something to share with Christ. Share it in the confessional. Give him everything. I was totally petrified. How am I going to tell the priest all these things that I've done? And you sometimes have a tendency to think, well, you're going to rationalize them, or you actually explain your sins to the priest, like you're going to justify, like, why you did it. Well, I did this, but only because this happened and this happened. And I can imagine the priest being like, I'm sorry, are you explaining that it's okay, or are you confessing it? There's a difference. And so I was nervous, and I go to the priest, and I kneel down, and I just said, I don't know how to tell you some of the things that I've done. I don't know how I can describe them to you. I'm so ashamed of what I've done that I don't even want to say them out loud. And the priest was so good. He said, you know what? We're going to take this one step at a time. We're going to go through the 10 Commandments, and we're going to just go through everything. And it was amazing. I did. And the way the priest did it was really great. He said, you know what? Why don't you tell me the biggest thing first? Your biggest sin first. And I thought, okay, this sounds like a good thing. Of course, we go to the confession, and, I love the Catholic Church for so many reasons. One of them is the screen, Yeah, I love that screen. That girl does too. We love it. Yeah. Love that screen. It's a beautiful thing. And I love it when there's these opportunities where the screen is not available, and the priests are so good, right? They sit in their chair, and they try to turn away as far as possible, try to give you as much, space, but it still totally freaks me out. I like when I bring a book, and like or bring my purse. Like, can you hear me through the leather? Okay. My Father, you got me? All right, I love that screen. It's such a good thing. And so I'm kneeling behind the screen, and I'm thinking of my biggest sin. And I'm thinking, I'm taking a little time to go through it. I got to prioritize that list really quick. And the priest leans into the screen, and he says, are you still there? And this is so terrible. It's a true story. I lean into the screen, and I say, patience is a virtue. I know. I can't even laugh because I don't want to go to confession for laughing at that. Now you have to. I'm just kidding. But it's so terrible. That's how bad it was. I am the epitome of vice. And I'm telling this priest about patience. Are you serious? Golly, do I need help? So I get there, and I can imagine that priest just walked into the confessional to probably, put in an extra box of Kleenex or something, and he got stuck with me. Or maybe you heard, the confession of some nun right before that, and she put out the wrong color napkins, and Mother Superior was a little, perturbed that it was blue instead of yellow, because she likes yellow or something, I don't know. And, and here I'm, plopping down, hey, Father, listen to me, And so he, of course, gets all quiet. He doesn't say anything. And then I say, okay, Father, I think I'm ready. And he says, all right, give me your biggest sin first. And I said, okay, boom, there it is. There's my biggest sin. I was totally scared to say it, but I did. It was such a relief, though, just to get the first one out. I did that, Father. I did it. I can't. There's no pretending now. There's no justifying it. My friends aren't here to laugh. My friends aren't here to encourage me to sin. It's just me and Jesus, and this is it. I did that. And he just is so quiet and calm, and I kind of can see his head nodding, and he says, okay, all right. Now tell me your second biggest sin. And I said, okay. And I'm getting definitely more serious and more really into like the moment, you know. And I said, here it is, Father, boom. That's my second biggest sin. And he gets quiet. And I don't see his head through the little screeny things nodding. And he kind of does this thing. And then he leans into the screen, and I'm like, and of course he leans into the screen, and I'm up close looking at him, and so I'm like, oh, he's getting close. He's getting close, people. Okay. Hold on a second, you know. And he leans into the screen, and he goes, yeah, you really should have said that one first. And so, I know, it's so funny. My sins are that bad. So I couldn't even tell which one was worse or not. But it was funny, and I did laugh, and it made it a lot lighter to kind of go through the process. But the point is, I went through every single one. I gave God everything. I gave him every sin, every disgusting thing that I did, everything that I wouldn't dare even write down on a piece of paper because, I don't know, I'm just scared that the piece of paper would burst into flames at the moment the pen hit it, you know? Like you would talk back, you did what? Huh? Like, those type of bad things. And I gave God everything. And I gave God all my sins. And you know what he gives me? He gives me his son. He gives me redemption. He gives me his son at a price in my life. He gives me peace. He gives me forgiveness. He gives me mercy. I walked out of that confessional, and it was one of the best moments of my life. I realized at that point, I had believed in so many lies of this culture. I believed in people telling us we should do this and that and just go for pleasure, just go for this. Don't worry about it. You can be holy later. It's not a big deal. Jesus loves you. He'll be okay with whatever you do. And I believed these silly things. I forgot to think about the redeemed life. I didn't think about what other saints and other people did to make a huge, beautiful impact. You think about some of even the most recent saints, to be saints here in our world. And what if they didn't answer that call? What if Blessed Mother Teresa, John Paul the Great, what if they did not answer their call? What if they chose not to listen to that whisper? What if they chose not to be more and more converted into Christ? We have that capacity to be saints. We are called to do that. He has called us by name. And you are his. I am his. We are God's. I walked out of that confessional and I made a firm purpose of amendment that I'm telling you something, I wasn't going to do it again. I wasn't going to believe in the lies. And yeah, there's going to be temptations and life's going to be hard. But you know what? I deserve what God wants for me. That I have dignity. And that I may have lost my virginity. I may have sinned in a million different ways, but I can regain my purity. I can regain my self-worth. I can believe that God has something amazing for me. And if I didn't believe that and then act upon it, by choosing a pure life, a chaste life, an amazing life, a great life with Christ, a free life with Christ. I'll tell you one thing, I know that 1 month ago today, I wouldn't have married the best man in the whole world. 1 month ago, thank you, 1 month ago, thanks, thank you. I wasn't expecting you to applaud, but thank you so much. I'm so excited. But I believed in that. I believed in God's love to love me, and that opened up my heart to believe that I was also worth a virtuous man's love. And that Christ's love fills me first before my husband's. That this life of mine is for Christ, is for God. I love it. I'm so proud to be Catholic. I love my faith. I love who I am in my faith. And it's a journey, and I'm struggling, but we all can do it. If you remember that usually you only remember about 5% of a talk, 5% of a presentation. So let's make it this. Never let your past dictate your future. Never. Ever. Let your past dictate your future. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what your sins are. It's in the past, it's over. And all Christ wants you to do is come to him. People will talk, let them talk. People are going to fail you, forgive them. People can change, and we should let them and encourage them. You're worth the change. You are worth this. Give yourself this weekend, give yourself this time, especially tonight in adoration, where you can really come and bring yourself. Have that mental list starting to flow through your mind of maybe your sins, of all the things that you've done, the things that you want to bring to Christ. Go to confession, receive that grace, and know that this life is worth living. Don't let your past dictate your future. Have a new future with Christ and have that, and believe in that. It's your choice, though. You know, and I think that was at the bottom line of everything. I came down to where they got down to one question. And it just said, Leah, you know, do you believe this or not? Do you believe in the gospel or not? Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name and you are mine. That's amazing. We were purchased at a price. It's our duty. It's also our right to live a life that's worthy of that.